Welcome, friends. Welcome this morning to worship and our special time together. Our theme today is conversations about the beloved community. And I am so excited to welcome you and to welcome our special conversation partner today, Dr. John Alston, the director and founder of the Chester Children's Chorus. We know that they have been long-time partners here in Swarthmore and a part of our Swarthmore community, but we are excited to find out new ways that we can dream together, think together about being a beloved community, what that means, what that entails, and how his work is making an impact on that, but also his challenge to us as we listen and as we endeavor to be better neighbors one to another. So I'm so glad that you're here. I also want to extend an announcement to you. Next Sunday is our Harvest Home Sunday, and that is when we typically collect food for our neighbors, especially at City Team. This year, we are going to focus on non-perishable items. That means canned goods, pasta, things that you know we have in our pantry. We'd love for you to drop off any donations that you have for our City Team and bring them here to the church. We'll make sure that they get to the City Team offices and locations so that they can be given out. It's a wonderful opportunity to give to our neighbors, to show the gratitude that we have during this Thanksgiving season. We know that Thanksgiving will be different, will be a lot more separated one from another, but we don't have to be in our spirits. We can be with each other. We can do the gratitude work of sharing our gifts and sharing what we have with one another. It's a great way to show gratitude. We're also excited to announce that on the 22nd, on our Harvest Home Sunday, Dr. John Alston will be featuring music for us, and we'll be having kind of like a jazzy Thanksgiving service. But here's the thing. We're also acknowledging that this year, around many tables around our country, people will be missing. It will be hard. Thanksgiving won't feel the same. And so we want to take an opportunity to also lament. So some of the songs that we will be sharing together, Dr. Alston and I, will be around the feeling of lament and what that brings up, even in a time of Thanksgiving. So we hope that you will join us. We hope that you will be with us. And we hope that today, our conversation, our work together, will be just a beginning. Thanks for joining us.
Lord, we thank you for your church, founded upon your word, that challenges us to do more than sing and pray, but go out and work as though the very answer to our prayers depends on us and not upon you. Help us to realize that humanity was created to shine like the stars and live on through all eternity. Keep us, we pray, in perfect peace. Help us to walk together, pray together, sing together, and live together until that day when all God's children, black, white, red, brown, and yellow, will rejoice in one common band of humanity in the reign of our Lord and of our God. We pray. Amen.
Before we begin our conversation, let's sing together this wonderful hymn, recognizing the many gifts that all of us bring, the diversity of life, the diversity of our neighborhood, and the beauty that that could bring to one another. Many gifts, one Spirit.
When we fear the future, give to us your grace. In the midst of changing ways, give us still the grace to praise. Many gifts, one Spirit, one love known in many ways. In our differences, blessing from diversity we praise. One giver, one Lord, one Spirit, one word, known in many ways, hallowing our days. For the giver, for the gifts, praise, praise, praise. God of many colors, God of many signs, you have made us different, blessing many kinds. As the old ways disappear, let your love cast out our fear. Many gifts, one Spirit, one love known in many ways. In our differences, blessing from diversity we praise. One giver, one Lord, one Spirit, one word, known in many ways, hallowing our days. For the giver, for the gifts, praise, praise, praise. Freshness of the morning, newness of each night, you are still creating endless love and light. This we see as shadows part, many gifts from one great heart. Many gifts, one Spirit, one love known in many ways. In our differences, blessing from diversity we praise. One giver, one Lord, one Spirit, one word, known in many ways, hallowing our days. For the giver, for the gifts, praise, praise, praise.
Good morning, friends. As I spoke to you the other day, I promised you that we would have an incredible interview conversation with John Alston, who is the director of the Chester Children's Choir. And I'm so grateful that he is here with us, and we're going to have a great conversation about what we've been talking about this whole entire year of what it means to be a beloved community. And so sit back, relax, and put your critical lenses on so that we can have some good conversation together. Why don't you tell us about yourself and about where
Cut this.
I will cut it. No,
I
don't
didn't
worry.
plan on that part.
Well, tell us an introduction. How did it your spiritual background, your growing up years? Tell me a little bit about that.
A little bit of time as a Catholic, as a boy, and let's see. I think 3 years of Catholic school, and then
That might do it.
yeah. Then I stopped going to church after that. Since then, I don't know what to tell you about my faith, except I'm sure that love wins. I wish it were easy, and I'm not convinced of that God is an almighty, immutable being. You know, I would take better care of my children. I wouldn't let them hurt themselves. I wouldn't let my child risk his life or hurt someone else, and then sit back and tell you how sad I am and how much it hurts me to watch you do that to yourselves. That is not responsible parenting.
So it sounds like you are.
Am I talking loudly enough?
No. Yes, speak up.
Okay.
It sounds like you are like a lot of us in this searching, seeking, confusing, and yet knowing that there is someone there. There's a supreme, or there's a spiritual force that is guiding us. That is pulling us into this better reality, this better building, this community that should be better, that we should all strive for. But it's always sometimes a nebulous time. Some people might think that parents who love also allow their children to make mistakes, and that's a way of, because we can't always be there to safeguard as much as we want to. There comes a place or a time that we just have to let our children fly, and sometimes they fly into mistakes, or
Sure.
they,
But at what point do you jump in?
yeah,
Right?
well, you have to ask yourself that. I mean, especially when our children become adults, and what happens with that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think
Sure.
you're absolutely.
But humanity, we're still in our childhood. We are clearly in our
Clearly,
childhood,
yes,
right? We don't take. We have this wonderful opportunity with democracy to balance self-interest with the interest of others in our
Yeah,
community, and
yeah.
we're doing a terrible job.
Yeah,
If I could go back for just a second,
Yeah.
I'm not that far along that I believe that there is a guiding force yet. I've come to the point where, when wonderful things happen, especially with the Chester children, that I do give thanks. I'm at that point, but I'm still spending a lot of time being angry for the way the
hear
world
you.
is.
You are not alone. You are not alone, my friend. You are not.
Mhm.
So tell me how you got started. Speaking of Chester Children's Choir, tell me how you got started there. Where was your entry point into Chester Children's Choir?
I came to Swarthmore College, began teaching there in 1991. I was a lost soul. I was such a fish out of water. I was scared of everybody. Everybody was the students and faculty, they were all so smart. They were smart in a way that I wasn't smart. I could do music. Yeah, I could tell you everything about Mozart's Requiem, whatever. I got the harmony. I could
Right.
take care of business on the podium, but I didn't know what everybody was talking about. I didn't understand this whole life of the mind culture, and I was just nervous and uncomfortable all the time. And when I was growing up, I was also nervous and uncomfortable all the time, except when I was making music. I joined the Newark Boys Chorus as a 6th and 7th grader, and it was a professional boys chorus.
Right.
So we had this absurd rehearsal schedule, 3 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow.
Very light academic program. It was a professional boys chorus, day school, so we were taking classes, but it was clear that the reason we were there is to sing. It's a little bit like the college athletes that are playing in these Division Ones. It's clear that they're there to play football.
Yeah.
We were there to sing. So I fell in love with Bach. I fell in love with gospel. I heard R&B, and I loved all this harmony, and it felt right immediately.
Wow.
And so here I am at Swarthmore, uncomfortable, and I wanted to recreate that experience. It was completely selfish. And we started with 7 boys in 1994, and I borrowed a college van, and I went to their houses and picked them up. I had no background in music education, didn't know anything about teaching children, and we recognized each other immediately. And I'm sure that after 2 or 3 weeks, we just loved each other madly. I mean, it felt so good. And I told you this earlier, and I tell people when I think that they will believe me that these children, they saved my life. I mean, that was meeting those 7 boys that spring and summer. That was the beginning of the beginning.
Wow.
That's when I grew up.
Wow. So we just recently celebrated All Saints, which I think this is a beautiful segue into this, because I think of the people who are our ancestors, which have prepared a well for us to drink deep into. I think of those as saints. I also think that there are a lot of saints that don't get the sainthood mention of what we typically think of a saint should be, but are saints in their own way. And so, if you had to, thinking about the context of the Chester Children's Choir in your own life, and the historical components of all these contexts, who are the saints that you would lift up?
I'm wondering whether to give you the long list or the short list. Well, if I had to pick a few, Louis Armstrong.
Nice.
St. Louis.
I think you would not be alone.
Louis
right?
Armstrong taught America how to swing.
Oh my God,
He
yeah.
gave America jazz, and he taught Billie Holiday how to sing. He taught Bing Crosby how to sing.
Absolutely.
They all come from Louis Armstrong. Besides his trumpet playing.
Sure. Yeah.
He was America's first original musical genius, Louis Armstrong. So he's an easy one. Another easy one. In some ways, it's the biography that you're reading. It's this wonderful biography, Bayard Rustin.
Yeah.
Completely unsung hero.
Yes.
We wouldn't have had the 1963 march without him.
That's
He organized that in less than 2 months.
That's right.
And he was
That's right.
constantly kept in the background because he was gay.
That's right.
But he helped King and the Southern Leadership Conference. He helped those folks organize. He helped King to introduce nonviolent protest to America. Who knows how that would have happened without without Bayard Rustin. And you're a black gay man in the 50s,
Yeah.
you got no shot, right?
That's right.
The cops are
Right.
coming after you.
Right.
The FBI is
Yes.
obsessed with you.
That's
and,
right.
And what a gift he gave to, a Westchester kid. Fabulous. Here's a surprise one. I think Lyndon Johnson,
Yeah.
right? Tortured individual who just laid it on the line with the the Voting Rights Act, and then all of his wonderful legislation. He ached to take care of underserved people.
Oh, absolutely. He had a profound experience teaching Mexican American
Did.
children at the border.
Did.
Very. Nobody highlights that, but he was given to poor and disenfranchised people.
So he learned early on to love people that don't look like him,
Exactly.
and that's what I hope we get to talk about
Yes.
in the next few minutes. And then my last saint for today would be Malcolm X,
Yeah.
because he worked so hard. His transformation was so difficult.
Yeah.
He was handsome and angry and wonderfully articulate, but he was young, and it took him a while to understand that his idea of the beloved community included everybody. So he discovered that when he went to Mecca, and he saw white folks and brown folks and black folks
Yes.
all worshiping,
Yeah.
right? So he had this moment.
Yeah. That's a beautiful. It's such a profound biography. That whole transformation.
Sure.
He didn't. It wasn't that that his anger was the problem. It was just misplaced, and it needed to be regenerated so that it became a force of building this community.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people want people to not be angry, and I just think I have a feeling that God is pretty angry at some of the stuff that we do to each other, and yet that anger can be used to mobilize change. And it has to be. Now, if we remain in the bitterness of anger, that could become a real problem.
Sure.
Because it can paralyze
It'll
us.
destroy you.
It can paralyze us. And speaking of that, as we move into the most important question for me is, we've been talking a lot. I think my congregation knows that next to my name is building a beloved community, always, because that is my mantra. That's my motto every time, every service, every outdoor event, I'm constantly talking about, we have got to build the beloved community. And so for us, as we understand it here, as I've explained it here at Swarthmore United Methodist Church, is that we envision a community that's based on justice, on equal opportunity, and love for our fellow human beings. And it's also based on this desire that no discrimination of any kind in our society occur. So, one, tell me what you think about that definition. Two, tell me, how are we doing? And
How are we doing?
How are we doing in this thing called beloved community? And not just the church, just all of us in general. And where are we failing? And where are we making some strides?
Look at the red-blue electoral map. How are we doing?
Yeah.
We're as stratified
I know.
as we've ever been. Maybe that's not entirely true, but the progress is so painfully slow. I've been thinking about your question for several weeks, and love and sacrifice will get us there. So I don't have an opportunity to talk to a lot of people about this, but my very simple formula is you have to love people that don't look like you. You have to spend so much time with people that don't look like you that you just love them. That you get past the learning to love, or I need to read the next book about guilt and self-help so that I can start to love someone.
Right.
This is not what we did when we were parents. Or we did a little bit of study, but
yeah, they didn't come with instructions when we picked them up at the hospital.
No, not at all. And
nor return labels.
no, there is no hope if we continue to live in communities where everyone looks just like we do. Now, I'm lucky because my mom is Filipino and my dad is black, so hardly anybody looks like me. So I have the opportunity. Everybody I meet, wow, this is great. This is so I have an odd racial identity. I identify as black. That's what I feel in my bones, and I especially feel it when I'm with the children. And they love me enough that they're willing to tolerate that. So they've suspended reality enough because we're cool that way, because I love what they're about and they love what I'm about, and there's so much in that Venn diagram. There's just so much overlap, and that doesn't come. That only comes with deep familiarity, appreciation, and then love for people that on the surface are different than you.
Absolutely.
It's not that folks aren't different, or conversely, this simple kind of thing that ultimately we're all the same. Yeah, sure. But this lack of familiarity and appreciation for folks that do it differently, that sound differently, that have different accents. Isn't it wildly exciting to taste a new food and then just be blown away with that? Oh my gosh, I had no idea that Ethiopian food was so delicious. Well, brother, you just haven't eaten Ethiopian food.
Right.
Like, where have you been? And it's that way with. I'm just sure that if folks that do not know and love black folks, if they were to spend a summer reading with one of our children, it will change their lives. It's love almost immediately. Our children don't see their older white reading person as an older white person. That's just my person. And once that disappears and the love starts, and I know this sounds corny, but it's true. But I'm absolutely sure that it's that familiarity, and then once you love, then the sacrifice isn't even sacrifice anymore, right? You just do it because you love that person. So imagine if we loved all of the under-supported people in the United States the way that we love our own children. What kinds of schools and other structures would we build for those folks that we would insist that our own children should have?
Absolutely.
There'd be no limits.
Absolutely.
It would be simply,
if we wanted everybody to live with the same thriving values that we have.
That's right.
For ourselves, and in our homes, and in our schools, and in our communities.
The marvelous schools we would have for our children. The marvelous churches we would have for Sunday. that would be the beloved community for me.
Yeah.
Love and sacrifice.
Yeah. There's a wonderful quote by Father Richard Rohr, who some of us, I tend to read his reflections every morning, and he says we have to live in love with the dispossessed until they are no longer seen as dispossessed.
Perfect.
And it's the transformation that happens in our hearts and minds, and it's the transformation that's happening in our society, because we are moving on their behalf. We are moving in solidarity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I just think that beloved community is not an overnight thing. It is because it's a lot of internal work. So it's a lot of work about how I'm looking at myself. So I often wonder whether people actually love themselves enough to want to love someone else with that much compassion and empathy and equity.
Probably not. But my very gentle counter is, rather than spending most of your life learning to love yourself,
Absolutely.
spend all of that time learning to love someone else, and then the transformation, and that is so much easier to do.
Yeah.
It is so much easier to love someone else than it is to meditate and reflect on your own, on your imperfections.
Absolutely.
You will. I don't know, unless we're Buddha. I mean, look how hard that was. I mean, he sat under a tree for 7 years?
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
No, we're not gonna
Love somebody
do that.
Else instead. It's
love
more
somebody for
fun.
7 years.
It is so much more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that over the past 4 or 5 years, we've been increasingly hearing this fear rhetoric. Who's coming into my community? Who's taking away my jobs? And who's not paying taxes? And who's stealing this? And who's taking mine and mine and mine? And it's all this built on this whole rhetoric of fear of the other, that somehow feels like it's a reflection of a life built on fear, just fear of everything, fear of encountering difference, fear of like you talked about, fear of eating a different kind of food, or fear of, just this whole notion of fear. And there's been a lot of conversation, particularly in this past election, about the fear of what's going to happen to our suburbs, or the fear of what's going to, I don't know if people have noticed, but people of color are in the suburbs too, just saying. So, I just think this fear mantra, how do we, feels like that needs to be closed or put to an end or debunked in order for the beloved community to be.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, as a species, we are wired
Fight or flight.
to fear, right? We've just got that part of our brain, and it's a significant part of our brain that reacts, that lights up when we see someone that isn't part of our tribe, right? So that's the first reaction, is fear.
Right.
But we can practice being better.
Yes, we can. Yes.
I can practice being better. You can practice being better. Our law enforcement community can practice being better. We can all get better, but without practice, then we just give in to those immediate and easy impulses. It was very easy for Trump to stir up that part of his base that is most motivated by fear and hate for the other. That's easy. That's a primal reaction. Now, it doesn't take a college education to. I'm not saying that to to practice love and practice imagining that your tribe is something else besides skin color. How that's just such a lazy way to
Very
be.
limited.
There's
Yeah. Yeah. Well, John, I want to thank you for taking this time to talk to me and talk with me about this. And this is a long conversation.
Oh, it is.
We'll be talking again soon about this, and maybe even building in some other people to have a rounder conversation, if you're up for that.
I am.
So I just want to, anything you want to end it with?
Well, a couple of things.
Yeah.
Shortly, briefly.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about myself. And I'll do this lightheartedly.
Please.
For those of you that are watching that would love the opportunity to get to know some wonderful children in Chester and fall in love with them, and maybe broaden your, let's just say to shatter this notion of tribe. Just come spend some time with our children, especially when we get past this pandemic stage, and they'll teach you the way that they taught me.
How do
I
they do
promise.
that? How would they do that? How would they connect with you or connect with the organization to be a part of that?
In the summer, we need about 40 reading volunteers.
Wonderful. Okay.
That's one-on-one time, 4 days a week.
Okay.
And you're snuggled up in a corner of the music building, and you're reading a book with your little person.
Nice.
And she's reading a book with her big person. And
Yeah.
it's the most beautiful part of the summer program.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And love will win when
Yeah.
that happens.
And that's Chester Children's Choir. They should just go to the website or go to and find out more information about
Yeah,
that.
chesterchildren'scourse.org. You can just Google Chester Children's Course
Great.
and you'll find us.
All right. Thanks again.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thanks for watching, friends.
Beloved, as we have heard in this interview, there are so many ways that we can participate in making and building the beloved community through our time, through our presence, and through our gifts and offering. Here at Swarthmore United Methodist Church, we are committed to not only the work of Chester Children's Chorus, but the work of building a place here in this building where the community can gather. We have a dream. We haven't shared completely all of it yet with all of the community, but we have a dream of creating of this space a community space. That means that we need your support. We need your help. We are embarking in a stewardship campaign that's called Measured by Generosity. We invite you to find out more about it, go to our website, read up more about it, and contribute. Contribute to the dream of building the beloved community. Let us present our tithes and offerings. My gratitude now accept, O God, for tender care that Again, we want to thank you for watching today. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. And thank you for accepting the challenge presented before us. As we close today, we will listen again to the Chester Children's Chorus, to the song that Dr. Alston wrote himself, capturing the words of all the people who have been speaking to us this year on streets across this country. I still can't breathe. May we listen with our hearts open. Thanks for joining us.
By now you've all seen video of George Floyd being killed by police officers, and you've seen horrible images of violence between law enforcement and protesters. Our Chester children have seen those images as well, and they feel terrible. They're hurt, confused, and they feel betrayed once again. These are the same children that we're going to sing Messiah for you. These are the same children that love Bohemian Rhapsody, and these are the same children that think that Let It Be is the greatest song ever written. So what else can we do? All we want is for America to love us back. Since the shutdown, I've been teaching several of our advanced students music theory lessons virtually. And one of those students is Sky. She's an extraordinary soprano, a beautiful singer, and she's got this big, big brain. And last week, she canceled our lesson. And yesterday she told me why. The day before canceling, someone in her neighborhood blew up the ATM machine. And she heard the explosion, and she's been rattled ever since. And now she hears explosions outside of her house all the time. So at our last lesson, we talked for a long time about all this. And she told me that racism will never go away, that America will never change, and that she will never be able to do anything about it. And I told her that she was wrong. I told her that one day she would be so accomplished that she would have the power to make America a better place. But at that moment, she didn't believe me. So what can you all do right now to help convince Sky and our other Chester children that change is possible, and that one day, when they grow up, that they will be able to make America a better place? In 2015, we made our video, Still Can't Breathe, in response to Eric Gardner being killed by police officers. And here we are again. Please watch the video, send it to all your friends, like it dozens and dozens of times. Thank you all for cheering for our beautiful Chester children, and bless you all.
1, 2, 3, go!
Can I please? You just a grown man.